If you want to move from chaotic, reactive energy into a calm, grounded, unbothered queen energy, there's one thing you have to learn to do, and that is master your emotions. You will never fully sit in the power of your seat of your life until you do. Hi, I'm Ileana here. I help women in midlife reconnect with their bodies, reset their mindset, and step into this next season with clarity, confidence, and self respect. Today's video was inspired by a very real recent experience of my own. Something was said, maybe not even directly, but implied, and it triggered that familiar feeling of not being fully appreciated. And if I'm being honest, underneath that, it touched an old wound of not feeling good enough and maybe even not feeling worthy. And yes, those moments are hurtful, especially in midlife when we've lived, given, sacrificed, and grown so much already. In today's video, I want to talk about emotional mastery, what it actually means, why it matters, and how moments like the one I just shared can either pull us back into old patterns or become powerful invitations to grow. But one thing I'll say, emotionally mastery does not mean being emotionless. It does not mean suppressing your feelings or pretending that you're fine. Emotionally mastery means that you are in the driver's seat of how your emotions move through and how they influence your behavior, your relationships, and your sense of self. Without this, we stay reactive. We give our power away to triggers. And over time, that erodes confidence and self trust. That foundation of emotional mastery is self awareness. If you cannot recognize your own emotions, your thoughts, and your behaviors, you cannot take control of your life. Self awareness is the ability to pause and ask, why did that land so deeply? Why did that moment affect me so much? What is this really about? And what is it trying to reveal? So many people live on emotional autopilot, especially women who spend decades caring for others and working full time jobs. We stay busy, productive, responsible, but disconnected from ourselves. And that disconnection is costly. One of the most powerful practice that we can develop is becoming a curious observer of our inner world, not judging ourselves, not shaming ourselves. Simply notice how you feel because your emotions are your internal compass. You will never master your emotions until you're willing to observe them. Now, let's talk about emotions themselves. Mastering your emotions doesn't mean stop feeling them. In fact, it requires the opposite. To master your emotions, you must allow yourself to feel them. So often, reactivity comes from emotions that we've pushed down for years until something small lights the fuse. Emotions are not a weakness, though many of us were conditioned to believe that they are. Culturally, we've been taught to stay strong, to keep it together, and push feelings aside, especially as women. But emotions are not irrational or inconvenient flaws. They are communication from the body, the nervous system, and the subconscious mind. When emotions are ignored or suppressed, they don't disappear. They show up as anxiety, as reactivity, burnout, resentment, disconnection, or even physical symptoms. When I felt triggered by not feeling appreciated, that reaction wasn't really about that one moment. It was about an old story surfacing, and recognizing that gave me my power back. Although I admit in that moment, there were tears because I allowed myself and my body to feel those emotions. But then awareness and curiosity came. Feeling emotions doesn't mean wallowing in them. There's a big difference between an emotion in your body and ruminating on it in your mind. When emotions are felt, they move through us. When they're replayed mentally, they keep us stuck. Triggers are especially important to understand. A trigger is not about what's happening now in that moment. It's about what hasn't been fully healed yet. Your triggers are messengers. They point directly to places that still want compassion, attention, and release. Anger, frustration, or defensiveness are often secondary emotions. Underneath them is something softer: sadness, fear, insecurity, or the ache of not feeling enough. And it's often the people closest to us who triggers us the most because their words touch the places where we most want love, respect, and validation. So here's something crucial. An emotion is not the same as a reaction. You may not have control over what happens to you, but you do have control over how you respond. And that response, your perspective, your meaning making, your self talk is what ultimately shapes your experience. Not every moment deserves a reaction. Not every situation needs an explanation or a defense. Your peace matters more than being right. Which brings me to a practice that I return to often: that let them approach, made popular by Mel Robbins. But honestly, it's something that I learned long before that. Growing up, my grandmother used to tell me all the time, especially when someone was offensive or I felt offended or misunderstood, she would always say, let them, let people talk. And with time and practice, I've come to understand the depth of that wisdom. Let them think what they think. Let them project their own fears, their wounds, their limitations. Let them show you who they are without you needing to explain or defend or prove anything. Let them misunderstand you if they choose to, because the moment that you stop trying to manage other people's perceptions of you, something powerful happens. You stop leaking energy. You stop shrinking or overperforming for validation, and you begin to reclaim your emotional authority. Other people's opinions are not a measure of your worth. They are a reflection of their inner world, not yours. Midlife has taught me this: peace does not come from being understood by everyone. It comes from being deeply grounded in who I know myself to be. And when we choose to let them, we're not being passive, we are being free. When you stop trying to control how others see you, you reclaim your emotional power. And this isn't about hardening yourself or becoming emotionally numb. It's about becoming more discerning, more emotionally regulated, and secure within yourself. From a neuroscience perspective, this matters. When we feel misunderstood, dismissed, or unappreciated, the nervous system often reads that as a threat. The body can shift into fight, flight, or freeze, even when no real danger is present. But here's the empowering part. When you pause, notice the trigger, and choose how you respond, and for me, that is to call on God for help, you signal safety back into your nervous system. That's how emotional resilience is built, not by controlling others, but by regulating ourselves. Emotionally mastery isn't about perfection, it's about self awareness, conscious choices, and self respect. And every trigger, yes, even the painful ones, can become an invitation to calm your body, soften your reaction, and step into a wiser, steadier, more unbothered version of yourself. That's where your power lives. And I want to close with this powerful quote from Bruce Lee: you will continue to suffer if you have an emotional reaction to everything that is said to you. This is such a gentle reminder that peace isn't found in controlling others, it's found in mastering our inner world. I hope you enjoyed this message as much as I enjoyed sharing it with you. Thank you so much for being here, for listening with an open heart, and for walking this midlife journey alongside me. This season isn't about asking you to prove your worth, it's inviting you to feel safe in it. As we close, remember this: emotionally mastery isn't about controlling your feelings. It's about learning how to be with them without letting them run your life. Now, tell me in the comments, who do you become when you stop reacting and start responding from self respect? If this message resonated, like, subscribe, and share it with the woman who's ready for real change. Not short lived motivation, but transformation that lasts. And remember, you're not too old and it's not too late. You are right on time for the woman that you're becoming. I'll see you in the next video. Thank you so much for watching. Bye.